Ready? Everybody ready?
I'm going to call the meeting in order of March 5th, 2020 of the City Council meeting. My first, before we take a roll call, I would like everybody to take a moment of contemplation or prayer or whatever you would like for our wonderful friend and colleague, Mayor Levy, who is in our thoughts, and I'd just like to take a few moments of silence, if you would, please. Amen. Thank you. Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Levy is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Carr?
Here.
Councilmember Case?
Here.
Councilmember Labar?
Here.
Councilmember Nacarado?
Here.
Councilmember Saunier?
Here.
And Councilmember Sawyer?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If everybody would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So next on our agenda is ceremonies, presentations, and appointments. Presentation by Woodland Park Police Officer Tim Bradley and Rico K9 Officer. Please come forward. Thank you. This is the fun part of the meeting.
It's my favorite.
Start with that.
The oldest dog and the longest partnership tonight here on Top Dog, it's Team Rico.
I'm Officer Tim Bradley from the Woodland Park Police Department in Colorado. This is my partner Rico. He's a 9-year-old Belgian Malinois German Shepherd mix. I got him at 8 weeks old, so he's been with me his entire life.
He loves the applause. If there's a crowd involved, he's gonna showboat. So
Rico and I may be the most veteran team here tonight, but we're here to show those young pups how to do it. Okay.
And here they go. Almost a decade of partnership has led to this. That 135-pound door gets knocked down, and here we go. They're off and running.
The 9-year-old dog has no problem through the window. And now they are going through our spider web. This simulates a chase through brush and undergrowth. That's so common in the field.
There's 1,100 feet of bungee there and 2 2-foot walls that they have to crawl over. Officer Bradley's losing a little time here, but hey, you tried doing this when you're 57.
Good. Rico waiting for him? Great teamwork and training.
And they keep sticking together on low crawl. And you can tell that this team has worked for a long time as a single unit. Now the box is up. 42 boxes to climb.
Yeah, it seems like they're having a little bit of a trouble there.
You would think working in Colorado, they'd be used to climbing mountains. They left a little time on the course there, but they're up top in just over a minute.
Yeah, they have no issues going through there. Now we're heading to our door breach.
Amazing. Rico didn't go for the ball. He just went right for the knob.
Do it!
Now he's got to get the second.
Wow, I think this dog might be able to pick the lock.
They made up time through there, so right at a minute and a half. The key is to bite and subdue the suspect, then release on command and cross the finish line.
Stand down! He win!
And he's having a little trouble releasing. Now he lets it go, and there he is. Clock stops under 2 minutes. A good first run here to set the table in the doghouse.
Yeah, really great run. That's going to be a really tough time for Officer Ben Hammer and Django to beat here tonight.
This new partnership started off rocky, but blossomed into a deep relationship. From California's Santa Paula Police Department, it's Team Django.
My name is Heather Van Hemmer. I'm a K-9 officer with the Santa Paula Police Department. This is my K-9 partner, Django. We've been together for almost 2 years. With a female and a male, there's going to be the bickering.
We
So
only
if you
care
watched
about
it, you know we lost by 5 seconds. 5 seconds. So this is Rico. Again, I'm Tim Bradley with the Woodland Park Police Department. I brought this out here so I could just sit and
answer any questions that you might have. So, sorry about turning my back on you all.
That's fine.
So I guess to sum this up, we were contacted. We were one of 750 teams that were contacted across the nation. And we did a Skype from the PD, which part of that showed when I was in the blue uniform with the ball cap. And I'd never Skyped before. It was challenging. We kept losing connection. We were talking to a lady in New York. Then we got another call a few weeks later, and we were talking with the producer of the show from California. And it was a new experience for me. Never done anything like that, never wanted to do anything like that. I got a call maybe 2 weeks later, and they said that they had eliminated the 750 teams down to 100 teams. And they said they would notify me within a week on the top 50. So we got the call. They told us we were in the top 50, asked if we'd come to L.A. They wouldn't tell us where we were in that order. It didn't really matter to me. So at that point, I contacted my supervisor and told him that apparently they were wanting us to go to L.A. and how could we work that out. They wanted to fly the teams down, and I was not going to sit on an airplane with a 90-pound dog in my lap, so I asked the chief if I could take the patrol car, and he agreed to let me do that. So we drove out. What you saw there is a fraction of the footage and the interviews and the filming that went into that. We actually ran that course extremely fast, but I was determined to be the top dog in that series. We ran it so fast that I had accrued a couple of penalties. So the time that you saw wasn't a real time. It was our time. With each of the obstacle courses, I'm guessing about 20 seconds worth of penalties or 30 seconds added. So that's the thing, you push it too fast, you run that risk. He ran that, if you noticed his pace, I'm running and working pretty hard, and he's just trotting along. So, which really isn't too bad. He's going to be 10 years old in March, which puts him in people age by his weight and his age to be about 70 years old. So you don't see a whole lot of 70-year-old guys out there running obstacle courses. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. A week in L.A., I was ready to come home, without a doubt. It was death by Prius and, Starbucks and everything else out there. But nevertheless, we did enjoy it. We felt it was an honor to get to go, and we were very happy for Heather and Django. We spent a lot of time with each other on the set, everybody that was in our series. We got to be acquainted with the series before us. We had a little time with them, and then the series after us. So it was kind of neat. We had to sit there with canine handlers from literally all over the country. I mean, we had Philadelphia to Pennsylvania to California, and we just, as we do here, when we train together and work together, we just kind of stick together. We're kind of a tight-knit group, and I guess a little unique in the sense that we work with these dogs. But with that said, I was asked to do a presentation. I really didn't have one. I figured I would just pull the chair up, and if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer those, or the board, by any means, just holler out. So if anybody has any questions about this, by all means, please ask. Yes, sir.
How's he to work with around other service dogs like that?
We don't really put the dogs together. It's pretty rare, because they're both the saying, the canine always wins. We start that from the time they're a pup. So in their mind, this is their world. We're living in it. They are the alpha male, and that's what we have to have, because we teach them to go after humans. It's something they wouldn't do normally. We teach them to find narcotics and track suspects and find evidence at the same level of drive that they go after, a running suspect. So we don't really put them too close together. The dog that I'm bringing up now, Dutch, he's 9 months old, and he tuned him up a number of times. When as he was growing up a little bit, you could see the little dots on his muzzle from this one snapping at him and putting him in line. But now he acts just like a 9-month-old. They're, Dutch is big enough, and they're constantly in trouble. They're breaking stuff in the house, and knocking my bed off the frame and everything else, so, but.
Council, do you have any, I'm sorry, Sally, did you have a question?
I wondered how often Rico goes to work with cases or projects here in
I try and put him in as much as I can. This year, I'm assigned to the Woodland Park Middle School, so I really don't like having him in a car if the car is just going to be idling most of the day. If I'm, in meetings, if I've got one of those days where I'm in a lot of meetings. But if I work a different shift, school's not in session, or I'm assigned to a swing shift, which is really perfect for us, he's in the car every time. He started riding in patrol cars at about 4 months old, 3 months old. So it's all normal to him. Once that car, he establishes that car as his car. Okay. Another question? Anybody?
Any, Council, do you have any questions? I want to thank you. I'm going to come shake your hand.
He's got 4 of them.
I don't care which one.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
One more question here.
Officer Bradley.
Yes.
I just had a card from some of my, I'm up here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's from some of my four-legged family members at home, so. They just wanted to congratulate the two of you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Rico.
We have no deletions or corrections to the agenda, as far as I know. We're moving on to the consent calendar. Suzanne Leclerc.
Thank you. Tonight on the consent calendar, we have the set of minutes from the February 20th City Council meeting with a couple of corrections that were brought to my attention. The first, and I apologize, Laura, I didn't put you down as in attendance at the last meeting, so I have to add that Laura Pellegrino was in attendance. And on 9B, under public hearings, the vote was Case Carr. It was 5-1, with Sawyer voting no. And that's the two changes that I need to make to the minutes. So we have the minutes with those changes, and then we have the statement of expenditures for January 2020.
Thank you. Any questions or issues, Council? Thank you.
Approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Nacarado?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We have a public comment by Billy Wark of the Cruise Above the Clouds. Public comment, items not on the agenda. If you would, please, sir. If you state your name and your municipality, that's plenty good for us just to know.
Hi, my name is Billy Wark. I live here in Woodland Park.
Thank you.
And I'm here to represent Cruise Above the Clouds. I'm the chairman of the board for the club. I took over last year. I'm here today to, well, let me start it out. We generally get funds every year for many, many years now from Woodland Park, and it's been brought to my attention that we will probably not going to be getting any funds this year. I received a email from the city manager stating that, since the CIF has been disbanded, that there is no provision in there for funds. We've raised and given away over $337,000 in 28 years. But it's because we have support from the city and other businesses around here. So I still would like to see if there's some way that we can get funds. But if that's not going to happen, I understand. The other question I do have, though, is if that's not going to happen, are we still going to be able to get the park and, close off the roads? Will you guys still be able to support that?
So yeah, I do believe any of the in-kind donations that we provided in the past aren't restricted by the Colorado Constitution in terms of the annual requirement to prove public benefit. So those do fall within something the city can provide. Yes, I would say my answer is yes, sir.
Okay, so we're able to do the park. Okay, and that way I have a meeting next week with the board of directors and the members, so I can let them know that part. All right, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have nobody else signed up. However, this is an opportunity if somebody wants to come up. Anybody have any public comments not on the agenda?
This is from Mr. Moran. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you'd state your name and your municipality, that would be great.
My name is Joe Morin, and I live in Cristola, also Woodland Park, Colorado. I'll be reading a letter that I would like to have entered into the record along with its exhibits A and B. Council members, on 2/24 of 2020, I met with City Manager Tangeman to discuss the status of a 1995 CDOT access permit, which is Exhibit A. That was referenced in Resolution 850 passed by Council on 11/7 of 2019, as well as to deliver an attorney's determination on the matter, Exhibit B. As we discussed, one of the express conditions of the permit's issuance is as follows. Quote, CDOT must also receive a resolution from the City of Woodland Park City Council accepting the terms and conditions of the permit and specifically agreeing to construct the highway improvements as required below, end quote. The attorney determined that because council did not pass the resolution as expressly conditioned by the permit, quote, the city has never been bound by terms of the permit and that the city never agreed to construct the highway improvements, end quote. The city staff report of 11/7/2019 and Resolution 850 inaccurately represented to our council that their predecessors 25 years ago had already agreed to construct the $750,000 to $1 million worth of improvements to Highway 67. Specifically, Resolution 850 instructed council that, quote, pursuant to said permit, the city agreed in 1995 to make improvements to State Highway 67 when warranted, end quote. The report and resolution failed to inform our city council that, in fact, no preceding council has ever agreed to make these improvements or has ever approved this permit, as the permit itself explicitly requires for issuance. As the 1995 permit was the key legal premise underlying Resolution 850, it is perplexing that this vital document was not included as one of the several documents attached to the staff's report for council's review. Only if the permit had been included in the staff report would council have had a chance to discover that an essential condition of the permit had never been met. During our meeting, when I asked Mr. Tangeman whether he or other staff knew before staff presented its report and resolution to council that no city council has ever agreed to make the improvements, Mr. Tangeman told me that I would have to inquire with the city attorney on that matter. The following day, I sent Mr. Tangeman a letter by email with copies sent to council requesting answers to the three following questions to which I've had no response thus far. 1, were any staff members aware that this critical condition of the permit was not met before the staff report and Resolution 850 were presented to council? 2, if yes, what efforts were made by city staff to investigate the permit's efficacy in binding the city to terms to which council never agreed as explicitly conditioned by the permit? 3, under what legal rationale or instrument is the city bound to terms of a permit that city council failed to approve as an express requirement of the permit's effectiveness? I respectfully ask council to support this inquiry with staff and to investigate this incident, as only you are able. Council's appropriate response to this matter is crucial to the trust taxpayers place in their city government. While it may be perhaps too late to reverse the fiscal damage caused to taxpayers, it is certainly not too late to hold our paid staff accountable for this enormously costly and questionable work. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to those city council members who are willing to dedicate their valuable time to properly research and decide upon very difficult and important issues like this one, all as volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As tradition, we don't respond to those things, but we will take them under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no unfinished business. Anybody else have any? Sorry, Laura, keep doing this. Any other comments? Thank you. No unfinished business, no ordinances on initial posting. Thank you to Laura Pellegrino, City Planner. Public hearing to approve ordinance number 1376, staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Carr and members of council, members of the audience. Tonight we are here to consider ordinance number 1376, 2020, which is an ordinance amending a previous ordinance, number 1164, 2012. And the amendment is to simply replace the legal description that's in Exhibit B and the illustration that's in Exhibit C for a 30-foot wide, 0.51 acre public utility easement. We're going to replace those two documents, Exhibits B and C, with a new legal description, Exhibit AA, and a corrected illustration, Exhibit BB, for a 30-foot wide, 0.61 acre utility ingress egress easement. This is an application by Thunder Ridge Drive, an easement from Thunder Ridge Drive to the Woodland Park High School tract in the north half of Section 19. And this is requested by Thunder Ridge Haven LLC. The property owner is Mr. Craig Nelson and his daughter Jessica. They are both here in the audience tonight if council has any questions of them. So I'd just like to begin by showing you the area that we are talking about here. It's approximately a 49-acre tract of land outlined in this teal blue here. Currently unplatted, currently undeveloped. The water line that exists is roughly in this location here, shown by this light gray line. This is the entire tract owned by Thunder Ridge. It is currently unplatted, 47.59 acres, but it is master planned. It's supposed to contain approximately 71 lots, some of which have already been developed as former filings, previously approved filings. The lots are, they were planned in 1999, and they range in size from 15,000 square feet to roughly 88,000 square feet. So roughly 71 lots are supposed to go in here. The easement that we're talking about is, again, roughly that little gray line that you see there. So in 2012, an easement was created for utilities, and in 2013 we accepted an installed water line, and that is depicted on this graphic by this light blue line, this teal line. So unfortunately the water line was installed outside of the easement along this portion here. So the easement is this 30-foot wide green easement that we see here, and you can see how the actual water line jumped the easement in this section right here. Everywhere else it is in the easement. So what we did was, what Mr. Nelson did actually was create an exhibit. This is the illustration, and the legal description is Exhibit AA. And this is the exhibit that will depict the actual revised easement that will contain the existing water line. So the staff recommendation is that City Council approve ordinance number 1376 series 2020 to amend the previous ordinance. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chairman. As I said, Mr. Nelson is here if council has any questions of him or
Would the
me.
applicant like to present anything? Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
We need to do.
Oh, public comment. I'm so sorry. Public comment. Any public comment? Any further discussion? I will entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve ordinance 1376.
Second. Suzanne?
Case?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Nacarado?
Yes.
Soinier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
I see nothing in new business. We go to reports. The community events that we have coming up are on March 5th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. Chamber Lunch and Learn, Business Thriving Toolkit at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. On the 11th of March at 5:30 to 9:30, there's a municipal candidate forum for all the municipal election candidates to participate. That's at the Chamber of Commerce moderated forum at the City Council chambers right here in this room. I believe it'll be streamed, but I'm not certain. I don't see Debbie.
It will be, sir.
It will be streamed. Thank you. So if you can't make it to one of the chairs available, please tune in at home. On the 17th of March from 5:30 to 7, Chamber Business After Hours, a networking event with Keller Williams, Client's Choice Realty. I think a couple of these people to my right know about that. On the 20th of March, from 5:30 to 9, the annual gala Return to the 70s is an RSVP event by March 14th at the Cheyenne Mountain Resort. We have yet another opening on Keep Woodland Park Beautiful, and so we're really anticipating the applications come flowing in, and we'd love to have you on this wonderful committee. You don't have to pick up trash, but if you would like to, we would welcome that. Thank you. That's all I have. Okay.
I've been asked by the Debbie Miller with the Chamber to mention to all of you in the community about the candidates forum for all of those that are running for office on either the City Council or in the Mayor's position. That will be held here in Council Chambers on the 11th from 6:30 till 8:30.
No, we have 5:30 to 9:30.
Thank you. Like I said, 5:30
I've never seen
to
it go to
9:30.
9:30. I promise.
5:30 to 9:30 right here in the council chambers. Thank you for your help. Anyway, invite everyone to come and join in if they can and enjoy the entertainment. I also would like to mention the Business After Hours being hosted by Keller Williams on Tuesday, the 17th, which is actually St. Patrick's Day. So we ask you to be wearing the green and come and celebrate St. Patrick's Day at Business After Hours. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Labar.
I just have to say to Chief DeYoung that I had some interaction with a few of your officers this past weekend, and everything was fine. It was nothing. But I just wanted to say that your response times are fantastic, and your officers were incredibly professional and personal, and made a really great impression on some people that I know. So thank you, and our community is blessed to have the officers that we do.
Thank you. That means a lot, and we pride ourselves in being able to get somewhere on an emergency within 3 to 5 minutes anytime there's a call for service.
Yeah.
Councilmember Nacarado.
Historical Preservation Committee met, and a couple of things. We need a minimum of $11,000 for asbestos mediation for the old depot building that's over in Woodland Station, to get that up to snuff. So anybody that feels like they'd like to write some checks, we can certainly accept those. Also, we still need a youth liaison for that committee. I've been begging. My knees are bleeding. So if you know of a young person that would like to get involved in city government in a very fun sort of way, a historical preservation committee is a good place to start.
May I comment?
You may.
We met some very qualified and energetic young folks
We
on
did.
Tuesday evening at the high school
We
where
did.
they had a candidates forum. Very impressive group of kids in the civics program there, or young adults, I should say. And they asked some really tough questions. And maybe one of those might be a good option to approach.
Well, if I may, you may recall that I did make a pitch.
Did you?
Even
Good.
during that, trying to hopefully have one of them step up. But
That was a great event.
Nobody, I didn't hook anybody, so.
Yet.
Yeah.
Councilmember Sonia.
I too would like to thank and compliment the Woodland Park Police Department on a successful K-9 program. I hope it grows and that you have healthy dogs and it continues to be a success, as I know it will be. I want to remind people that the Republican caucuses are on Saturday. The doors open at the high school at 7:30. Drop dead sign up is 10 o'clock when the caucuses begin. They should not last any longer than 1 hour to approximately 11 o'clock. If you'd like to get involved with the caucus, move on to assembly, congressional, and state, we'd love to see you. Come join us and be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Sawyer.
DDA meeting was fun and exciting. I wish everyone was there. DDA talked about the taxes, vendor fees, business license fees, lodging tax. They're going to do a resolution that they're going to present to City Council for us to look into those. Updates to follow. Proposal for Woodland Station. Negotiations are ongoing. That's all I can say about that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney's report.
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
It says you do. Oh, mine does.
Well, I gave a couple of copies to council members before, and I got 2 council members I missed. One of the things that I was out of town for a week, and this issue came up, so I wanted to pass around a potential draft ordinance to discuss how ballot names should appear on our ballots. It's an issue that isn't specifically addressed under the municipal election code, so I've got a draft ordinance with a couple of different options, and certainly willing to hear feedback from council as to how you might see addressing the issue. I didn't want to bring an ordinance on first reading without having some opportunity to have you mull it over and give me some further direction before we draft anything. So I provided some of that right before the meeting, and the other 2 council members, I'll make sure you have a copy as well so you can provide me any input you have.
Thank you. Please pick those up on your way out. Thank you. City Manager.
Okay, mine's going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to be passing my report off, but we got a short meeting, so I'll try to make it long here. Sorry. First of all, I just want to express my appreciation to Mr. Moran coming tonight. I want you to know that we were going to respond, but Mr. Moran had already sent a letter to both newspapers, the same letter, so it kind of was pointless to me. I had to end up, we're responding via the newspaper because it was an open letter. I didn't have enough time to respond, so normally we were preparing to give him a response. So I'll just let you know, just from a real basic stance, that the City Council was made aware of Resolution 850. It was considered. But it was considered irrelevant in terms of what CDOT's requirements were for the improvements, and so we feel like we came out with the best possible outcome that we could from that decision.
I guess in a brief nutshell, if council will entertain, if we pretend that this access agreement doesn't exist, which is the option presented, council is aware that we have a police department there as well as other development, and in CDOT's perspective, and Sally spent months in working with CDOT on this issue, we would then have to ask permission to access Highway 67, which would put us right back at square one, having to do the improvements from our own development of the police department. So the reason to highlight why we considered it irrelevant from staff's perspective is we either can do the development agreement that we said we would do, or we can ask permission from CDOT and they'll tell us to do the exact same thing regardless. So it didn't make sense to prolong the process. We may not have passed a resolution, at least we couldn't prove that we did, but ultimately CDOT's response was we can put Jersey barriers down the freeway and block your access if that's how you'd like to behave. We did not feel at staff that that was the appropriate way. You know, it might affect response times as an example from the police department, not to mention some significant safety issues. So it wasn't taken lightly. Staff did spend a lot of time, several months, working with CDOT to come up with a resolution, and council was briefed on that through that process.
May I say something?
Certainly.
Since I'll probably never talk up here again on issues, I would like to say I disagree with you, and I don't want to go into a diatribe. I just want to say this is a three-way party, and all people are invited to the party. The contractor, which pays the fees to the city, which pays a fee to CDOT or the U.S. Department of Transportation. Now, if CDOT wants to come, I'm going to use an example, and do my city streets, oh, sure, I'll agree. And on the other side of the street, you have Teller County, which should be another player in this whole issue. I disagree with your statement. I think your counseling has been poor on this issue. I do believe that CDOT has an obligation to the citizens of Woodland Park and the citizens that travel through using Highway 67, be it for scenic, for recreational, for emergencies, whatever it may be. The burden being put on the taxpayers of Woodland Park is totally unfair in the ratio that it's being put on. I will not speak to this again. This is my parting shot at you guys. And I think what I'm saying is fair. And I'm sorry that the citizens are stuck with this burden that should not be. End of story.
No response. I mean,
you got more. Right?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Other things that the city is working on right now, we actually, Ms. Martin, I know you sent me an email earlier today. It was right in the middle of some of our preparations to release a press release today. Did you get the press release already? Okay, so so obviously we're in the middle of a time in Colorado history where many people are concerned about the coronavirus, and so we just released a press release today that describes essentially our coordination with Teller County, the Health Department, Environment, and what we're doing to work with them to address this issue, and also make recommendations to the community on what they can do to help prevent this. Today there was a confirmed case in Colorado, and that person's being treated in Denver. Just let the community know we are monitoring the situation with the Teller County Health Department, and our emergency operations from the police department are in contact with the Teller County Health Department to address the issue as it reaches Teller County. If in the next who knows, next 30 days or less. So just to put that out, our press release is out. It also has a lot of different resources, that fact sheets that our community can take a look at to help prevent this issue from hitting their homes. And so please take a look at that and contact us if you have any questions. I do want to highlight our fantastic counselor. Is in his first year of service with the city. I neglected to get this out last week, so I'm just going to say, hey, Jason, thanks for everything that you do. You're in your first year with the city, and you've done fantastic for us. And I can't imagine a better outcome for the city in terms of having an in-house counsel. It's exactly what the staff needed. I believe it was exactly what the council needed, and I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. And now you can get a free sweatshirt that has and or a nice certificate. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Lastly, before I turn it over to Suzanne to talk about the election, some issues with the election, and Sally to talk about the comp plan, and Emily to talk about the sales tax report, I wanted to highlight this week's next Friday, right? The 20th. On the 20th, the city, or the Woodland Park Chamber, will be naming its wagon boss. And so I just want to read the press release, if you don't mind, if just take about a minute or two, so you can hear what that is. The Woodland Park Chamber's wagon boss is a person of great ethical standards, integrity, and distinguished leader who is actively involved in their community. This individual has made a positive and lasting impact on the region. In essence, they are the citizen of the year. The 2019 wagon boss, Miles DeYoung, is no exception. In 2016, Miles helped co-found a substance abuse threatening underage residents now known as Saturn, a youth substance use prevention program for Teller County. This program remains 4 years later a very strong entity that has nearly 30 community members, or 30 community partners, who come together monthly to rally around youth and support them with prevention, education, and more. Continuing on with this commitment to giving back, Miles chairs the board of directors for Status Code 4 Incorporated, a 501c nonprofit that offers free individual and group therapy along with other mental health and wellness trainings for first responders. Over the last 3 years, Miles has served on the El Paso Teller County 911 Authority Board, where his work ethic and high integrity has served him well with the challenges from operational and physical challenges presented to the board. As a board member, Miles has had to implement tough fiscal decisions that are consistent in serving the best interests for our 770,000 residents of the two-county district. His decision to support the advancing of technology and deploy high-speed, state-of-the-art internet protocol-based communications network will serve the community well in the next decade. His contributions have saved the Woodland Park tens of thousands of dollars in general fund, while at the same time improving the level of service to the community he serves. When faced with potential budget cuts for his own department, Miles became creative in resourcing both personnel and equipment. These efforts have had a positive secondary effect for enhancing the rest of the city's performance. Commander Halsworth noted Miles recently implemented the 9 p.m. routine, which reminds community members to lock up their cars and close their garage doors before going to bed at night. The impact of this is this one action has seen a decrease in crime-related incidents since the inception of the program. Miles has been asked as recently as December 2019 to speak at Pikes Peak Regional Law Enforcement Academy, and has served as their graduation speaker, where we had 2 graduates ourselves. He supports local events in the community and encourages his peers, family, and friends to do so also. His long-term commitment to Woodland Park in terms of time, energy, intuitive, and vision is constant and unwavering. Miles has proven to be a talented leader with high ethical standards. It is clear he instills a positive attitude of teamwork and inspires others towards the common goal of improving the quality of life for business owners and residents alike. Debbie Miller says, "We are honored to acknowledge his integrity and leadership by naming him as our 2019 Wagon Boss." Congratulations, Miles. And you can show up to the chamber dinner on the 20th and celebrate with Miles. We'll start with you, Sally, if you can. You'll come up and just update the city council, please.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to give you an update on the comprehensive plan update project and land use review. About 4 weeks ago, we posted the request for proposals in order to solicit consultants to bid on this project. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a pre-proposal meeting in which 7 consultants attended that meeting. And tomorrow, their proposals are due. I've already received 2, and so we have kicked off this project. But the best news of all is that we did receive a $50,000 grant from DOLA, Division of Local Affairs, repairs, and the city is matching that with another $50,000. So this project will kick off with a robust community engagement piece, but tonight I'm asking for one council member to help us with the selection process of reviewing the consultant's proposals and participating in the interviews. We're going to hold the interviews on March 18th. That's a Wednesday, and it will pretty much take the whole day from 8 a.m. till 3:30 to interview 3 or 4 of the top candidates.
So I did this 10 years ago, and so anybody interested in...
I nominate Darwin Nacarado.
Yeah, I nominate Darwin also. I think he'd be a great asset.
I think you got your man.
Yeah, I think
Unless he can't do it.
Is it okay with Dar?
No, of course. Of course. I participated in the last go-around with this fairly heavily and would really like to participate from the very beginning of it this go-around. So I think selecting that consultant and negotiating that contract is a serious matter, and I'm happy to take it on.
Great. We welcome you to help us with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Suzanne?
Thanks, Darren. As most of you can see in the audience, I have put out there a sample ballot for you to look at. That's what your ballot will look like. You can get familiarized with it. And there's a lot of charter amendments on there. And on the city website, we have the position statements that the chamber made with the pros and cons to each one of them if you want to educate yourself more. But what I really wanted to talk about tonight was UOCAVA. That's a word that a lot of people may not know. Let me tell you what UOCAVA stands for. It's the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. And a lot of you from the last election will remember we had to wait for the official results till these UOCAVA ballots came in. What I wanted to let the citizens know is that Congress enacted this in 1986 to allow military personnel and other citizens residing overseas to vote in federal elections on the day of the election. In 2011, the state of Colorado adopted it for state elections, and in 2015, those same provisions were accepted for municipalities. So it's in our election code now for the municipal elections. So the UOCAVA covered voters include U.S. military personnel, members of the Merchant Marines, their spouses and dependents, and other registered electors residing overseas. In accordance with statute, ballots in municipal elections shall be mailed to all covered voters. These ballots, the reason I'm bringing this up this evening is these ballots have been mailed out as of today. So what will happen is we received a list from the county clerk, and it had approximately 65 UOCAVA voters on it. Those ballots, as I said, were mailed today, and some of those voters have Woodland Park addresses because sometimes they're stationed overseas, sometimes they're stationed at home. What I wanted the public and the council to know is that don't be concerned. These 65 people will get their ballots, but you will also be receiving your ballots, but your ballots will come in during March 16th through March 19th. So I just didn't want any confusion when the UOCAVA ballots hit the mail tomorrow. So that's it. Thank you.
Emily?
Thank you, Darren. So in your packet is the December tax collection report. And something that I wanted to highlight is that month to date over 2018, there was a 9.85% decrease. And there were no top payers that submitted late. So we received all of the top payers' sales tax returns. So this is indicative of the slowing economy, I believe, because I don't know why else, December is normally our largest sales tax collection month. So it's just something that I'm keeping my eye on, and obviously with current economic conditions, it's not something that is alarming at this point, but just something that I am keeping my eye on. So overall for the year, which this is unaudited, we are at a 3.2% increase over 2018 overall. And so that was good to see, because obviously we did, overall want to see an increase over 2018. And then there was a 0.5% increase for lodging tax. So I know, and Darren, was your article in the paper? Okay. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about what you wrote about briefly, but we just are, we're monitoring the, current economic conditions, and our projections for 2020 are 3.2%. So they're right in line with what the increase was for overall for the year for 2019. So the hope is that at least we will keep pace with CPI, Consumer Price Index, and so we'll just have to see what happens when I have yet to compile the reports for January, and so just see how that first month goes.
So Emily will be providing the January report at the next meeting, I believe,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, I was going to mention the reports coming up.
Sure.
Yeah, but
Okay, real quick, just some of the things that we're seeing, and appreciate Emily bringing this to light, that we have, between 2017 to 2018, there was our economy was growing, or the sales tax remittance to the city was growing at about 6.46%. It has dropped 49% in between 2018 and 2019, so we're seeing about half of what we saw the previous year in terms of growth, but it's still growing. It's just growing at a half the pace that it was growing in the previous year. But it is aligned, like Emily said, it's aligned with our projections for sales tax for 2020. So we'll be monitoring that really closely just to make sure that we meet that. We're kind of expecting it to be a little more, but with a lot of things going on in the economy, everyone's seeing the stock market go up and down the last week or so with the coronavirus and a lot of things that are going on, that we've got to keep an eye on it, because right now we're steady with what we're projecting, but we could see a drop.
Just a question for you. January tax receipts are for December business. Those get booked back to
Correct.
December for 2019.
Correct.
Do those numbers include that accrual for January tax receipts?
yes, so those are the collections from January. Maybe I wasn't clear with that. So
Just want to
collected
be
in
sure that the
January
accrual had been
for
made
sales in December.
for year end.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Yeah, and so something I did want to note is that Colorado released the CPI for 2019, the Consumer Price Index again, and that was at which we monitor obviously for our projections, and 1.94% was the Colorado CPI, which was significantly lower. It was over 3.5%, or I think it was 3.5% for 2018, and it was even higher than that. I want to say it was over 4% for 2017. So obviously the good thing there is that the city being at 3.24% over the previous year is better than the 1.9% CPI. So we are, exceeding that. And then, I did want to note that, so the January sales tax report, so collected in February, will be at the next meeting, March 19th. And then the year-end report for 2019 will be completed after the audit is complete at the end of March, the end of this month. Or it's really, it goes into the first week in April.
For the CAFR. Okay. Thank you. Is that it? Thank you. We are now at the end of our business until we're going into an executive session pursuant to CRS Section 24.6402-4 FI for discussion of a personnel matter. I'm asking for a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I'm sorry. No, I'm ready. Sorry. Carr?
Yes.
Sorry. Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
LeVar?
Yes.
Nacarado?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.